Hello and welcome to a series of very special Dublin International Film Festival podcasts. This year's festival runs from the 22nd of February to the 2nd of March and promises to be an elevated cinema experience. Ahead of her appearance at the festival, I'm chatting with Mami Wata producer Oge Obasi. Thank you so much for chatting with us. Oh my God, what a powerful film, metaphor, the visuals, the dynamics. Like, it's very haunting. You find yourself followed by it like throughout the day. Like, it speaks so much to the human condition and like the dynamic. Yeah, if you can tell me about what it was like producing this, that's
Well, it was quite a journey, mentally, physically, spiritually, I would say, because it was so difficult getting this film made. Finding partners, finding people who believed in the film, it was really difficult. Spent some years in Nigeria trying to raise money locally. And we just met a whole lot of pushback, because of the title, because of the black and white. Um, People just fought back. And it wasn't just a simple, no, I'm not interested in the project, or no, I don't want to be part of your film. It was quite passionate, if you get what I mean. So you see people say, no, 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 why do you want to make a film in black and white?
yeah. And that's what, when you think about it, that's what the critics loved. That's what they loved, the stylized version. Like, if you read all those reviews, that's the
Now
thing.
that's what everyone loves.
And isn't that funny? Do you feel like there's a little bit of a we know better than you? Like,
I think people had their own biases,
yeah.
you know, for whatever reason. For some people, it's the religiosity of where we're from, where we demonize everything that is local to us, and feel like everything imported has more superiority, And then for some people, a bit of jealousy too, where it's like, oh, this is a fabulous idea. Why is it not mine? Why is it yours? And
Yeah.
they don't consider the fact that they could say, I would like to be a part of it and come on board rather than push back. And for some people, they just didn't understand the vision or believe in it enough to even just say great idea. People just got up in their own personal bubble. So it's not something you hold against anybody, but it really made the process unnecessarily difficult. And it wasn't until we got into Waga Film Lab that we got our first sign of, positive feedback. In fact, it was such a contrast from the reaction we got in Nigeria that it was so pleasant and welcoming, and they were very happy, and the producers, the older producers were so excited and kept on commending us, saying happy to see that the young people are not throwing everything away. This is very important, story to document, put visuals behind and all of that. And after Waga Film Lab, we got into workshops, which also helped us, put in better work than we had previously done regarding the scripts, and just being laser focused on the vision. We were able to raise money from Europe, because also that came with its own challenges, where because Nigeria is known for Nollywood, it seems like what you have on your deck is overly ambitious. And you hear things like, Nigeria is not known for this kind of thing. So we're very careful not to take unusual risks. Maybe if it was South Africa, because we've seen what they've done, and even though this would be new all around, that would be a more calculated risk. So we were able to get money from Europe for the film. And then COVID came along, and I was like, are we ever going to get this film made? It was just too much. That year was very crazy. And so I just felt I had to make the call to go in. Just go in. Don't think about it. Don't think of the logic of funding. I don't know, go in like the Israelites and maybe manna will come in from above, which is pretty much how it went. I fixed the date and I told the whole team and everybody got to work. The little I had, I spread it out for the materials, like for the costumes and the hairpieces, and everybody got to work. But they didn't know I didn't get money, and so we just went right in. And even while filming, I was on the phone every day, every night, just looking for money, taking loans, and all kinds of crazy things that I can't remember anymore right now.
God.
And then some unusual things also happened while we were filming, unusual help, unusual unexpected support. And the crew and the cast were just so dedicated to the work. So that really helped immensely, because you could have all the money, and if you don't have the people, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
And so basically we put one foot in front of the other, and then we wrapped. I was so shocked the day we wrapped. I was like, so we actually got to the end of this shoot because it had been so wild. And then afterwards, we had footage with which to apply for post-production funds, which we got 2 of, which really helped us to have the kind of post-production we really wanted for the film. And more great people working on the film. People were so passionate to work on the film, and I think that just helped to transcend everything that we aimed for.
It is, and you can see it's just so fresh. It's just so fresh, but everyone, you can feel the truth behind what's happening. It's just such a universal story, but
Yeah.
so uniquely local, and then told in such a strikingly beautiful, powerful way. And like it's a piece of theater, it's a piece of visual art, it's something that's so emotive, and at that baseline of creation, like it's so gorgeous that you can see, you could see as well, like maybe people that didn't see it, because like again, it's not something you can go, oh, this is just like this thing, like you
Yeah.
always say, oh, what are your comps, what are your comps, what are your
Yeah,
comps?
because even when you're pitching and you realize there's no reference, you're not saying the film is like this or that. You're creating something as impossible as it may seem, something new, because they say every idea in the world is not new. It's been done somehow or the other. But in this case, we didn't have any of that to fall back on. I think that's part of what made it so difficult and also so special.
Yes, and very like, but again, it's almost like Shakespearean in some ways as well. It's so fabulous. And talk to me about your creative collaborative collaboration with CJ. So I presume you're a creative producer, you're helping like line up cast and crew, negotiating deals. Can you tell me about like just you've secured the money, now you're going into pre-production because you've worked as a line producer on TV, on film. What's it like then, it being your project, and how do you guys work together?
Well, we live together, and the living in and the working in kind of goes hand in hand. um, I think because we've been at it for a while, we kind of are tuned into each other. It's not difficult. I don't think it was ever difficult because um, we've always kind of been like-minded in terms of what we want to achieve. So we want to take our local stories global. That's the baseline. And then we know that for it to get where we want it to get to, there has to be a certain quality about it in terms of the technical aspect, production value, and all of that. Things that we could get away with locally, we can't do that internationally because we're trying to reach a very, very diverse and vast audience. And so that automatically also means more money. You need more money to have greater production value. So from the moment he told me about the idea, pretty much wrote me what was to become the log line for a while. It just made sense to me. Like, why not? Yes, it makes sense. This is a very important story we need to tell. It's always bothered me why when we talk about deities in Nigeria. We have lots of them, and they are mostly male deities, like the god of thunder, god of war. And people think it's cool when you say, I might make a film about the god of thunder. And they're like, oh, wow, that would be nice. That would be neat. But whenever you mention Mami Wata, people get on the defensive and the offensive. So even when you go for prayers, you pray for a young man who's looking to find his life partner, and you say things like, may God keep Mami Wata girls away from you. So even as a joke, I always say, what has Mami Wata done to offend you guys? Is it because she's female? Why the automatic fear? We hear about the god of thunder striking people dead in terms of the folk tales and all of that. The god of war creating war where there's, creating chaos where there's conflict. And then this nice lady is just blessing people with fertility and prosperity. And y'all are scared and offended. So it never quite made sense to me.
It's such an example of like that patriarchal assertion versus, threatened by this matriarchal positivity. And it's such a great metaphor for that. Like when you're watching it and you're really like, yeah, you can see that kind of like that shift between these two ideals and, kind of like capitalism, but like corruption and, like versus nature. And
yes. And I feel like in the world generally, yes, women are powerful, and sometimes even women don't know they are powerful, so there's just something in us that makes us that way. I don't question creation. I just know it is that way. And it's why you find that when a woman who has come into herself, who knows her strength, comes into a space, there's a change, for good or for bad, whichever way she chooses to play. But there's a definite change of energy in that space, wherever it might be. And some people feel intimidated by it. Some people are in awe of it, and some people embrace it. All based on their own unique experiences as a person. But I know that there's a definite power in womanhood, in the world, the energy in the universe, and so yeah, that had always been in my subconscious to say why. So immediately he showed me that log line. It made sense, to me. And in spite of all the things that I suffered personally in the journey to get the film made, it was never even a question for me whether to give up on it. Because there are some things you start and you realize its time has passed, or this is just not working. Let me channel this energy elsewhere. I never had any moment of doubt about making the film, or if it needed to be made, or if someone else should make it. You get my point. And so so with the cast, we had to also be very very specifically channeled in finding the cast. It wasn't just the kind of casting you would say for marketing purposes, let's just cast someone who's got a face and all of that. With the way the journey of the film was, we needed people who, in their own ways, in their own hearts, their own personal ways, were channeled to the whole concept itself. Not just because we pitched a fantastic sounding idea, but because they were in a personal place that this project appealed to. And for example, our cinematographer, Lilis, when we got to know Lilis, when we met her, she had just either come out of or was about to have her initiation ceremony into the Orisha. She had found out that she comes from a lineage of Orisha worshipping women in Brazil. And so she had just, had her initiation also. And so, what are the odds really that you would find a female cinematographer of color who just happens to be in that space and time at the time we were reaching out to her? You get, so it was that kind of journey. And I don't think I think me and CJ are very in sync when it comes to the creative process, such that that's the least of our worries, and more of getting the resources we need to get it made in the way we want it to be made.
Yeah, and that's it. But I mean, again, I think the female eye, even in terms of like that is there. Like, I mean, it's there throughout where you go. It's told with such empathy, and even like, those very intimate scenes that happen, and even the acts of violence. I think there's a real dark intimacy to those as well, and I think that's something that if you're watching, it's funny when you watch something and it's presented slightly differently, you understand that because and you understand what you've been watching the whole time has been presented in a very different way. Because I think, like, if you look at action films, there's like this heightened act of violence that's very stylized and very choreographed and feels almost like a dance, and there's no emotion behind it. But I thought I was very like the violence in this film I thought was done very beautifully, because like I find it very challenging to watch and very intimate. Um and I thought that was really beautifully handled. I thought all those that moment of like there was such physical intimacy throughout this film. And I do think like that's that sort of yeah, matriarchal viewpoint, which was beautiful in a way to watch. How do you work with your cast in achieving these, in like achieving the performances? Because you as a producer, like it's sort of your job as well to make everyone feel safe on set, and they're fed, they're watered, they feel comfortable, they're there on time. Like it's would you be around for that process?
Oh, well, for their protection, we had a stunt team on ground, and the stunt team helped with preparing them for everything. And so there's a whole lot of rehearsals before the shoot itself. The idea was to look as authentic as possible while keeping everyone safe. And the cast, they were very professional about it too, very willing to learn, and they were very happy to do their own their own stunts and choreography. So I think it was fun all around. I did my best within what was available to keep everyone as happy as I could. I'm not sure I made everyone 100% happy. It was a very, very, very tough shoot. But I also understood that in the dynamics of space and time, it's either we made the film that moment we're there or we don't. It was just one of those things. I hope to make up to anyone who didn't feel 100% comfortable in the future. But I'm also an indie producer. I don't have the studio budgets and all. I didn't have any kind of that kind of support. Also due to the kind of film I was making. So it was one or the other. It's either we make an outstanding, fantastic film everybody remembers for the rest of your life, or we do something very comfortable, which might just get lost in the whole line of films that come out, every year. So I made a call, but I did my best. That much I can say.
I know. Well, I think the producer is always the person dealing with the kind of big, huge problems. It's like the director does all the fun, creative decisions and goes, oh, maybe this isn't working. Let's try it
Yes.
this way. And then it's like, we've no time. We've no money. Get the
Yes.
shot.
There's something funny when you're done shooting and you're going through the behind the scenes footage and you're wondering, how come I'm not there? I was the one suffering the most. I'm nowhere to be found. And these guys who complain about this and that, they find moments to take very nice, fun pictures. You see them clowning on set, and the pictures are so wonderful. But hey, where's the producer? And then I find myself in like 3 or 4 random pictures where I'm on the phone with this big scowl on my face. I'm like, couldn't you? And now we can't go back and do it all over again. But yeah, I promise myself every time the next film I'm going to have dope PTS pictures.
That's it. I just need more money. Everyone, any producer I know always says that. They're like, I'll never do this again. I'll never do this again. And then the right project comes along and they're like, but I do like this project. I'll do this one. And then that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And then it'll be the last one to the next one.
And talk to me, actually, one of the things I actually think was very interesting is
Yeah.
that the labs that were involved with this, the support that was there. I mean, obviously, that vision was really well received, and I like accessing co-production funding with Luxembourg. So would you have was it it was Luxembourg, wasn't it? The
Luxembourg funded the IAVE prize, which I won at Waga Film Lab. So it was an already existing prize at Waga Film Lab. I think they do that annually, but I won that for that
That's
year.
brilliant. And again, like that's the connections that you make. Would you partner then with a production company over there? Like is that part of the networking um job, or is it something that like maybe you go over and do work over there? Like what's part of the access to that?
Well, IAVE makes you a part a part of a huge network of producers all around Europe, and I guess it's just a thing of deciding what you're looking for, and then you reach out, because we have access to the whole database of uh, IAVE participants of old, and someone who fits into, you may or may not know the person before, but maybe a country that fits into, and you can reach out, and just for the fact that you're part of the network, I mean, a conversation can be had. And I guess if any of them is looking to do work in West Africa, I would be uniquely positioned for that as well. But you don't get a lot of that. You don't get a lot of that. It's something that I tried to talk about while I was there. So I realized that there's there's a lot of funds, big and small and medium, and also support in Europe, and in Nigeria we don't have any national fund for films or grants or anything. Like, you're literally on your own. So sometimes I think, how can you bring both opportunities together? Because then in West Africa, in Africa, and Nigeria, we have these unique stories. So when you're looking for stories that stand you out, you know, that's not the usual, as they say, then we have loads of it, you know. So how do we merge the resources from this country to this other country, and also makes for a more reasonable budget? I shouldn't be saying, but it's the truth. So what might cost like tens of millions in Europe, you might do for like 5, 6, 7, you know, in Nigeria. So there's lesser cost, more unique projects. So why don't we do stuff, you know, together?
Instead of building a soundstage somewhere like prohibitively
Yeah,
expensive,
and
why
then
not actually
doing,
shoot on location?
yeah, and making remakes. You know, there's a whole lot of untapped stories, and the world is very it's like a community these days with the internet and all of that. So there's a more diverse palette to tap into, a more diverse audience, and with the younger people coming up every day, they are way more open-minded. So that's a whole audience to tap into. So why don't we go for more flavors? So that's something I guess I'll just need to keep pushing, you know. But all of this, all of the IAVE, like I said, is a resource for connecting with producers, financiers, and all of those who've passed through IAVE before.
Can you tell me about the editing this film? You were saying that you had to raise extra funds to do post-production. As the producer, are you in there day in, day out? Do you watch certain cuts of it? Was there anything that you were like, we should change this for certain reasons, or anything? Like, did anything change?
The edits storyline changed a bit. I mean, the essence at the end of the day was there 100%, but some things did not go according to, either because of incomplete filming, or lost footage, as it happened to happen, and stuff like that. So I wasn't there then. I wasn't even there at all. It was CJ and Nathan, the editor, who worked very closely together, and then CJ reporting back to me. And, you know, I said, I want a powerful story. I know what I want. I don't necessarily have to pick scene by scene. I need a narrative that is strong and tight and encompassing of everything that we have set out to achieve emotively, visually, and everything we aim to represent. So as long as it's all in there, then we're on to a great start. And so they work very closely. And by the time the first cut came out, I watched it with fresh eyes. Because sometimes you get caught up in being in every scene, being part of every, and then you get too attached. You get too invested. Like, oh, I spent a lot of money on this. In no way are you taking it out, or you're cutting it too short. Can we have? I would have loved for the dancing to be longer because that scene was so stressful. But it was so costly and stressful. But so I trusted them to work with those directives, and that's what they did. By the time the first cut was coming, I was looking at it with fresh eyes. I was looking at it like a film I wasn't part of, and it drew me in. Even when I saw it over and over again, every time I saw something new, every time I was invested, there was no time I watched it and paused it to check my phone messages. Every time I started, I finished, and that was it for me.
Especially when you're so familiar with the message and the tone, but that's it. But I think as well the performances are just like so enthralling, and even I think the choice of visuals for certain moments, like it's very much so less is more, and that it as a viewer, as an audience, it allows you just to fill in the blanks, and it's so powerful. Um,
Yeah.
tell me about watching it then with an audience. So, like, it's done. Like, I mean, it is absolutely a critical darling, and it's done so well. And screened at Sundance of all the places. Tell me about what that journey has been like. Is it such a relief? Is it stressful every time?
I think it was very fulfilling. First time watching with an audience, I watched it with an audience was the world premiere in Sundance, and so I went with an open mind. No need getting worked up about something you can't do anything about. So being in the audience there, hearing people gasp at the right moment, people leaning forward in their seats, and people laughing at the right moment, or just they were really engaged, and at the end of the day it was a huge applause and everything. And I think the best part for me was the Q&A, because it wasn't just Q&A because it was supposed to be a Q&A. It was Q&A of people who felt personally invested in the film, who had personal stories of maybe identity, of sisterhood, of some spiritual stirring or yearning themselves, just a whole lot of backstories that brought them to that place because of the film. So they weren't just filmmakers, there were people who came to Sundance just to see the film and were leaving the next day, So there are a lot of personal stories, about, people who've known about Mami Wata, and they've always wondered why Africa is not telling these stories, or someone said they were in Nigeria briefly as a child, had an encounter by the beach because their dad was doing some business in Nigeria in the 80s, and they had an encounter by the beach, and that encounter brought them, good luck in very strange and unique situations where they know that they didn't do anything special to just get this done, but things kept happening in a good way for them. And then when they heard the film was being made, they had to come as a way of showing personal respect, and it was a whole thing. It just became bigger than me and bigger than whatever CJ and I had talked about and said we wanted to achieve. It just is like having this bubble in your hand, and the next thing the bubble just grows so huge and encompasses a whole lot of people from diverse backgrounds, diverse ages and all of that, and everybody just loving the film. that was the high point for me. I don't think anything can ever beat that.
Yeah, and it is like, and it was so like, it's so beloved, it's so powerful. But like that, I mean, did you think when you were like hunched over the phone on the set with everything costing loads of money and being stressful that you'd go from there to there? Like, could you have seen that at that point, or were you like hoping?
So on an intuitive level, I knew that if I could get us through shooting the film, then great things would happen. I did not know what the great things would be. I did not know what specific great things would happen. But I knew that the trick was getting through the shoots. And so a lot of things happened to make that shoot not happen. And the more things were happening to make the shoot not happen, the more I knew that if the shoots did happen, then the great things would come. I was like, the higher the price, the greater the outcome. So I don't think I ever had any doubt that great stuff would come out of it. I just needed us to have it. I mean, if you have footage, it's easier to say, I just need to finish the film. This is what a scene looks like. I know a lot of people had doubts that we'll be able to pull off the high contrast black and white. So now you have proof that we've done it. See the evidence. So I wasn't really worried about beyond the shoot itself. But shoot is the one place you need so many people and so much money. And then you need to feed everybody and accommodate everybody, and then transport and medical and so many things at the same
Everything
time.
goes wrong, like
Yeah.
everything.
So yeah, I just knew it's that if we could get through the shoot, then every other thing will fall into place.
And it did.
And it
It
did.
really made like a global impact, which is really powerful. Do you feel now as a
Mhm.
producer it's easier to be heard and to go, this project needs to get made? Like, are you working on things to get across the line? Are you taking a spiritual break to take some time out after the emotional stress?
I don't think there's anything like a spiritual break, because when you you don't just go on break, you're either in it or you're not. And because you become hyper aware of some things that you might have taken for granted before, and then it's just like knowing something, you can't unknow it. So no. um yeah, it's easier to talk about money. There was a hesitant way I used to talk about money before, where it would seem like, uh-huh. So what have you done before that would make you ask for XYZ kind of money? I was somewhere, I was pitching for 500,000 euros, and someone said, by Nollywood, you people make films for $10,000. And I said, that may be true, but I'm not pitching you a Nollywood film. Are you saying that there can't be voices out of Nigeria except your Nollywood? So then you either come across as being cocky. What do you mean you're not Nollywood? Are you saying you're better than Nollywood? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you hear Nollywood, a certain kind of film comes to mind aesthetically and all that. But I'm not going along those lines. I'm doing a different kind of film. I think nobody's going to ask that question anymore. So even back home, it seemed like, why are you saying you're not Nollywood? Out there, like, what do you mean you're not Nollywood? Nigeria only has Nollywood. So you see you're fighting multiple fronts of battles. so now it's not like that anymore. Like, people understand, oh yeah, we get it now. Yes, I say budget isn't as iffy as it used to be, because you know how people think this budget is too much for you to manage. Would you even know how to spread it out? And so those conversations are not going to happen anymore, because clearly I know what I'm doing, and I have done the work of proving that I know what I'm doing. So I'm not saying take my word for it. I actually know what
Yeah.
I'm
But
doing.
you had a proven track record as a line manager working on big shows and television and things before this.
Yeah, but usually with that, they say you don't get to choose the project, and you don't get to, you're there for a space in time, and it's mostly managing the line items and all of that. But being a creative producer where, from the get-go you're involved, then it's a different conversation entirely. So yeah, it's definitely way better. The question now is what to do next, which comes before which, and where to go from there. We have slated projects that we worked on while things were not happening, or while we're waiting for things to happen, while we're waiting for funds for post-production, before we even ever got to shoot Mami Wata. So while you're chasing up this, it's also a time to work on ideas and flesh them out and all of that. So we did a lot of that in our time of waiting. And so we're not under any pressure to come up with instantly new ideas. The ideas are already there, fleshed out, waiting for partners and collaborators, and then we now build it into whatever it's eventually going to become.
Oh, fabulous. And first up then, before all of that, is the DIFF screening. So you'll be over with us.
Yes. Yeah.
Enjoy your time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a brilliant festival.
Yeah, looking forward to.
Thank you so much. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Mami Wata is screening on Saturday the 24th of February in the Lighthouse Cinema, and you can explore the Dublin International Film Festival programme and buy tickets now at diff.ie.